moving on, we are starting with the topic of how to retrieve the data from a database. For example, you have to see the contents of the database. It is comparatively different from the whatever options that we have seen earlier. So for that, we have to look into following things, where how we are going to execute a query and what happens when we execute a query. So basically, when we look at this point, you can see that you are going to use a thing called cursor class, and I will explain it how this cursor class will work, and we'll move further into it. So the queries can be created using two methods. One is a raw query, and other is a query method, as we have already seen in the earlier topics. So this raw query will be explained in one of the assignments that will be coming up as the next video, and we have the regular query method also. So raw query directly accepts an SQL as select statement, while a query will be providing a structured interface for specifying a SQL query. So let me make the difference clear. In raw query, your statement format will be like that of a normal SQL statement, while your query statement will be modified to suit the purpose. If you look at this particular program, you can see that a raw query is existing over here. A raw query will be following the similar format of the SQL statement that we had learned previously. So it follows like where you have the select star from student, where roll number is the criterion that is passed through. So this is like a normal SQL statement that is being executed. And in comparison, your query will be modified to suit the need. So I hope you got the difference between what is a raw query and a query. So in we are basically going to see the things here on basis of the query concept. So if you're going to pass your values in the form of a query, it will require the following parameters. One is P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6 up to P7, where each of the parameters listed below. So P1 will be the table name, P2 will be the columns to return, P3 will be the where clause, and P4 will be the arguments for that where clause. And you have the option for group by condition, you have the P6 parameter for having condition, and you have the P7 for order by. So group by will be grouping the contents into like for example on basis of gender you can group it like male or female. Having will be like having the name, for example, let's say identify students with the common name Abraham. So that can be one condition, having the middle name as Abraham or the Abraham as part of the string name. And order by could be in terms of your ascending or descending order. For example, we'll do a comparison with an SQL statement. So using a query, if it is select star from ABC, which means you know that it is accessing the table ABC and it is detailing all the contents from that particular table. So here you don't have to pass any parameter. So it will be cursor c equal to mdb.query. Just the table name is enough, and all these parameters will be nullified, or it will be having the value null, which means there are no arguments. Now, if you want to select all parameters with c1 equal to 5, so here you are going to give a select star from ABC where C1 is equal to 5 will be the SQL statement. When it comes to a query statement in SQLite, it will be cursor C mdb.query, where the table is ABC, it should have in caps ABC, and you don't have this any particular column to be returned, but you're having the argument to be passed through, where you have the where condition where C1 is equal to, and you're passing the argument, and rest of the conditions are null. To select all with the selected title ID and ascending order, you're having an SQL statement like select title ID from books, order by title ascending. So you will be passing this as string columns to return. You'll be storing this calls to return, which contains title as well as ID, and you will be defining sort order variable with the title ascending, and you are passing the calls to return and sort order as parameters of this query. So I hope that point is clear. To move forward, a query can get you results. Like we have seen queries coming before, select star from ABC, select star from ABC, where you had a parameter being specified. So every query is going to get up a result. It is going to bring out some information which needs to be stored. So for example, I have executed this particular query, row query, select star from student and null as the remaining parameters, and it is going to retrieve all fields, namely username and password, into this particular uh, result set. So this result set is an entity that stores the result of my query, and the result of the query has been stored over there in the name of username and password. So there are usernames like Robert, Ram, Rahim, Amar, Akbar, Anthony, and the passwords respectively given over here. Now the point here is you have to see that there is a field name for each of these things. So this is field 0, this is field 1, this is again field 0 of the row 2. Row 1 will have two field names, 0 and 1. Row 2 will have field name 0 and 1, and respectively there is a combination up to 6, 0 and 1. So for a query given above in the space called result set, the data will be stored as retrieved from the source table. But the cursor would be marked at the position where the data is to be stored. So now just imagine I have obtained the result of my query, and the query cursor, like just like you see a cursor moving over here, my cursor will be currently, after obtaining the query, it will be loaded at this point where I am supposed to, if I am executing another query, it has to be stored at this particular point. So after 6 retrievals, the cursor is located at 7 to access the data from the beginning. So if I want to display all the username and password over here, I need to go to this position and get start. So for that, what I have to do is I have to execute a command, move to first. So I'm executing this command, result set move to first, and the cursor will be moved from the last position of the last entry to the first. And from there, I am accessing my data using two strings, string username and string password, result set dot get string 0. So currently, please understand that my cursor is located at the field 1 or the row 1, and if I give that particular get string 0, it would mean the username that is in that particular row, and this one would be referring to the password in that particular row. So I have used this command to obtain this particular thing. So what should be done to move the cursor to the next position? We are using a command called move to next. So I'm using this command called move to next to move to the next line of the result set. And as you can see over here, there are other functions over here which can move to last, move to previous, to see all those kind of data that you want to obtain from this particular database. Now, if you want to see multiple entries or to display it, you can use it in a for loop, and you can see how it happens in the later stages. Again, then there are so many other functions like get column count, get column index, get column names, get count, get position, and all these sort of functions are there. Now we are doing a case study over here. We are designing an Android application to register a user by entering the name and the phone number. As you can see over here, there is a field for entering username and there is a field for entering mobile number. And then you have the button set over here like register, and you are entering the particular details, and when you click this button, it will be stored in the database. So you have the main activity.java program over here. So it basically reflects to two buttons being used, add user and add mobile, and you're having a button called button save. And you are receiving the content of this add user field into this add user variable and add mobile to this particular variable, and you will be obtaining the status of the button once created over here. So you're creating and opening a database over here in this particular format, and then you are creating a table which contains username as well as a mobile number, variable character. It can store these two parameters, username as well as mobile. So I hope that point is clear. And now you're listening to the status of the button. So you're using that function set on click listener. And when you basically hear the click button, or when you are clicking the button, it will basically execute the statement insert into employee values, which is obtained from the eduser field and edmobile, and it will be displaying a toast that it has been added into this particular database. You have this code in your notes, so if you have Android Studio, you can try it out. I hope it works, because if there are no conflicts with the layout properties and all, it should properly work. Otherwise, we'll have to modify the code. Anyways, the layout code is also given over here, so you can use these two codes into your activity, your Java file, as well as your XML file for your setting out your layout. So that would be it, and I hope these portions are clear. We'll look into one more video which will give you a highlight about your assignment topic.